Hey guys, me here, and I am loving Slay the Spire 2. A deck building Yu-Gi-Oh-like roguelike where the main goal is to try and achieve apotheosis and win on the first turn, or die trying. Feels just like home. However, when you inevitably fail and die to something that was probably completely preventable, I didn't draw shit! You do it all again. Or win, and then do it all again. But this time with an added challenge of like being broke. Now for context, I played the first game and won in under 3 runs, and I said, wow, that was really fun. I should play it again sometime. And that was the last time I ever played. So I decided that I would really dig into this game. Why did I write digging in me in my script? This time, I've decided I would really dig into this game and find out why people love this roguelike so much. What gives it the edge over the others? What gives it that sauce? Now remember, everything you're going to hear about this game is coming from a relatively new player, so everything I say is completely true and can be taken as complete indisputable fact. And to show you just how competent I am, I'm going to win my first run right now! Oh, I actually won. I wrote this before playing the game, so now the setup is kind of ruined.
Elephant green screen effect.
Alright, you tiny little baby man. Slay the Dublin Spire 2 is a simple game at its core. Don't worry, if you haven't ever slayed the Spire before, I'll give you the rundown. This is a card battler split up into 2 turns. During your turn, you get 3 energy, a hand of cards, and a goal to survive whatever the hell the enemy has planned for you. It depends on who you're fighting, but they can go for a multitude of different things, like buffing themselves, debuffing you, putting junk in your deck, gimmicking you, or most importantly, attacking you with the strength of a dying star. That stupid bird that I hate. And sending you back to the whale. In order to see the whale in 40 minutes instead of 7, you must play your turn to end the fight as soon as you can without sustaining too much damage yourself. The enemy only has to win 1 fight against you. You have to win around 15 plus. After you play your cards and end your turn, you discard your previous hand, you take whatever the enemy is about to do to you, draw a new hand, and begin your next turn. Repeat ad nauseum until one of you perishes. This one's fried. Just cut to the point where I die. If you ever run out of cards to draw, your discard pile gets reshuffled into your deck. Any card played or not played goes into the discard pile unless otherwise specified. That's the basic rundown of how turns in Slay the Spire play out. So how do I protect myself from these maladies my foes wish to inflict upon me? Well, that's where we can finally play those fancy little things. They do lots of things, including being the main way you can negate damage through the block cards. The bigger the number, the less you take. So why don't I only play block cards and never take damage? And to that I say, don't worry, I also had an extra teacher in my class. You can't stall in this game. Enemies scale too fast and hit too hard. Therefore you should be building to not just survive, but to thrive. Because the best defensive cards in the game are the ones that atomize the opponent. Now cards greatly depend on your character and greatly vary in effect and quality. There are cards that do damage, cards that draw cards, cards that do something unique like win the fight instantly, and cards that do quite literally nothing. But remember, you're limited by your energy and your card draw. Until you aren't. Infinite cards. Infinite cards! Now how do you get your greedy little mitts on these cards? Well, my greedy little viewer, they can be obtained on the... This is where you plan your route and determine where your run will actually go. The Spire we need to slay, 2, is constantly changing and growing because it's a roguelike and it would be boring if it was always the same. I'd say it's about 1/4 bigger on the inside than the outside. So picking the right route will quite literally determine how your run goes. And one important location you'll want to visit often are the campfires, where you can heal or upgrade a card. It's a hard choice you have to make every time you arrive at one. Should I play safe and heal, or should I upgrade a card to potentially prevent more damage taken later on? Okay, that's a lie. Always upgrade, because playing safe is a concept made by cowards who still play at Ascension 0 to prevent me from upgrading my favorite card at 34 HP. After all, the only point of HP that matters is the last. Okay, that's also a lie. Sometimes you need the HP so that you don't die to the monster rooms. That's where you do the whole combat thing I just explained. They do lots of things, ranging from weak tiny little goo goo gaga one defense shuts down my entire turn to that fucking bird that I hate. So why would I ever go to these rooms? Well, Kevin, everyone has a starter deck depending on the character. More on that later. And that deck isn't going to scale well past the third fight. So you need these monster encounters as they are the primary way of getting cards, money, potions, and mortal blows to your health bar. I never said it was safe. To soften you up so you can die to the most dangerous rooms. The elite enemies, which are the real run-enders. That'll probably be the main reason you die, even if you win. I hope you save up those potions from all those monster rooms you were forced to go through, because you're gonna need them. Now you might be saying, again, why would I ever willingly go there? Well, Chris. It's because they don't just drop cards, they drop relics. Powerful little curios which increases your capabilities without taking up a card slot. They range from plus 10 max HP to I am now gaining infinite block. These can be quite powerful, so they are worth the risk. You know, if you can manage to not just flat out lose the run because of your mediocre deck building skills.
All in.
Alright, yeah, no, I literally draw nothing. End of recording. However, they aren't the only possible way to obtain such trinkets. Another possible source for these cool little doodads are the event rooms, which are random, events that tend to do something weird. Sometimes good, sometimes bad, sometimes run ending. It always gives you a choice, and I cannot possibly go over all of them. So here are some of my favorites. Being called in for jury duty against your will. Trading a potion for a rare card. Oh shit, blue eyes. A bridge that forces you to lose cards unless you trade HP to lose a different card. Actually, never mind, this one is terrible. Getting made fun of because you can't do 300 HP in 3 turns. Spending HP to grab the cheese. Or just a lot of money that you can spend at the shop, where you can actually buy stuff with all the money you accumulated from those events and monster rooms. It's here you buy new cards, relics, potions, and most importantly, remove cards from your deck. Because that 6 damage strike or 5 block card doesn't scale very well against those behemoth level health bars in the later rooms. And the less cards in your deck, the better. So keep your deck slim whenever possible. Now that you're stocked up and more than capable of reaching those later rooms, you can finally start ascending. And to prove that you can, you'll have to beat the boss of the floor to move on to the next floor. After winning, you'll get a full heal until you don't. These are the most deadly encounters you will find, and there are multiple types of bosses depending on the floor. Some of these guys are decently hard, but overall not too bad. And some of these bosses are Thanos and will legit end you because you drew the wrong cards. I hate Steam Giants. Fuck you, Steam Giant. There are 3 floors and 3 bosses. Until there isn't. Reach the top and you can slay the Spire. 2. And between each floor are the Ancients, which give you a powerful relic, each one depending on the actual Ancient you find. These are generally extremely run warping, so picking the right one is a make or break. Oh yeah, and the chest rooms, which you find halfway through the floor. It just gives you a relic and a bunch of money. There's not much to say about it. Got that? Kinda. Good enough. But you can't slay the Spires yourself, you silly little Sandra. So you need to pick someone who can slay it for you. And that can only be done with the... Now I can finally start talking about the card part of the card game, because your characters will determine what kind of cards you can actually use. And just so you know, characters have multiple gimmicks, or as I like to call them in my Yu-Gi-Oh! Infested Cranium, archetypes. So let's start with the character everyone must play for their first run. First up we have the... You've seen him, he's like a Red Luigi, he's a poster boy, he's a late night comfortable meal, he's like the cereal that tastes better at 3 AM. And all you need to know about him are 2 words. Big Bong. Okay, there's a little more to talk about. His starting relic is a 6 HP heal after combat. It is pretty nice actually. Comes up more often than you think. Every starting deck has strikes and defense. I won't mention the number of them, but they're all essentially the same card. Strike does 6 damage and defend gives you 5 block. He has 5 strikes and 4 defense. The Ironclad's unique card is Bash. A 2 energy, do 8 damage, apply to vulnerable. It's a good card, if a little pricey. but it leads into his first gimmick, the vulnerable status, which makes the enemy take 50% more damage. I can't really say much about this. It's as good as it sounds, and Ironclad has by far the easiest access to it. Hold on, do you hear that?
And if there's too many heads in my blunt, I won't spark it. I'll put it in my pocket and save it like rocket.
Look, just ignore it for now. I'll change the song soon. It's also very good at combining with his second gimmick, just hitting really, really hard. Boom! Boom!
Can I get 5 big booms?
And simply outvaluing the enemy. Basically, he doesn't mind keeping his strengths as much as other characters, and he also doesn't mind keeping his defend cards that much thanks to his other gimmick, which is getting a block bar so big he can frame mog any enemy he comes across, and apply his Heian era technique of simply ignoring it and moving on. The other major archetype he has is the exhaustion keyword. Now every character has exhaustion cards, but Ironclad has so many ways to exhaust other cards that he can shred his deck down so thin he can easily start doing infinites. Now, I'm too stupid to actually be able to do this, but this is probably going to get nerfed. It already has. But why wait when you can nerf yourself? By self-immolating and shredding your entire health bar down for minor benefit. Okay, it's not minor, but after a certain point, a 6 HP heal can only do so much. But you win some, you lose some, and sometimes you win a little too hard. Overall, he's simple, he's effective, and very much the Slay the Spire 2 experience. Up next, we got the... She's like the Green Mario. She's the mascot character. I mean, she's the first one shown in the trailer. She's the Dex to Ironclad's strength. Her starting relic, Ring of the Snake, allows her to draw extra cards on her first turn. A really nice relic to have with her pretty explosive playstyle. Her starting deck includes 5 strikes, 5 defends, and 2 unique cards, one being Neutralize, a 0-cost deal 3 damage, inflict weak. Weak makes the enemy do 25% less damage. This card leads into another archetype. Kinda? She has the most cards in her pool that says weak, so I guess it's her gimmick? And Survivor, which is a slightly overstated block card that can lead into one archetype, which is discarding, aka throwing her cards into the garbage more than a Balatro player. She can also discard certain cards with the slide keyword, which allows her to just play the card for certified free. Additionally, she can also take in an all-express paid trip to the Cursed Apple, where you too can be terrorized by a man with a bad model and a pompadour. They go on a date every Saturday night, it's kinda cute. Aww. She can generate and throw a billion 0-cost, supposedly low-damage cards, until you make it do a little too much damage, and then die to the damn B guy again anyways, because sending it and praying you don't brick is more fun than actually trying to strategize. But if you do actually want to strategize, you can always start by making them green, through the poison keyword. Every stack of poison on the enemy deals that amount of damage. So 84 poison is 84 damage at the end of your turn, slowly degrading by 1 each turn. However, being green takes time for them to actually, you know. So that's why you need to survive and stall out until they, you know. Oh yeah, remember when I said you can't stall in this game? Yeah, that was a lie. Okay, saying it was a lie is also kinda a lie. You still can't stall that well in this game, ordinarily, but thanks to the ludicrously powerful debuffs in this game, the dream of simply not taking damage is possible. Weak is a very, very strong contributor to that. And, as I said before, has by far the most access to it. The Silent also has access to a good amount of strong block cards, so you can do some rather silly shenanigans with this combination, as you can just block eternally as the poison rapidly ticks down. But I'll be honest, this is only one way of using the status effect. Weak is literally always good, even when you're not using poison. Overall, a very funny character that plays a lot of cards, but in all honesty, requires too much thinking from my pathetic mewling brain. I played Eldritch and Master Duel. You think I can manage all this? That's enough about the returning characters, for now. Let's talk about a newcomer. Now, I should have mentioned that, of course, every character has outlier cards that aren't necessarily in an archetype, but, you know, exceptions and such. And if you think there's a reason I am mentioning this now, and not before, that's because there is. Hey, that's the guy in the thumbnail. I'll tell you about his relic a little later, so let's talk about his starting deck. It includes 4 strikes and 4 defends, along with 2 unique cards. Venerate, a 1 energy grant 2 stars, which leans into his unique gimmick I'll talk about shortly. And Falling Star, deals 7 damage, apply 1 weak and 1 vulnerable. A very good card. These 2 starting cards tell you what make this character special alongside his relic. Divine Right. At the start of each combat, gain 3 stars. The Regent is a little less strict about what his cards exactly do, and are designed as more of a roof than an umbrella. Regent is essentially playing Everdell in Slay the Spire due to his juggling of resources thanks to his most central gimmick, the stars. They are a whole separate energy system. He can gain more stars through various means but are primarily generated through cards, and these star cards can cost any amount of energy in addition to any amount of stars. This one mechanic of Regent leads into so many different cards it's not even funny, including but not limited to, when you kill an enemy, gain a fat stack of stars, gaining way too much block and reflect damage, spending stars to generate more stars, spending all your stars to genuinely atomize the enemy.
Incredible.
Spend way too many stars to forge a sword for 30 damage. Speaking of forging, that's a unique keyword for his other archetype. Forging and enhancing diamond swords with sharp 5 on it. The Sovereign Blade is a unique colorless card. In its base form, it deals 10 damage for 2 energy, and has the retain keyword, so it'll stay in your hand even if you don't use it. This card kinda sucks in its base form, but that's why we can continue to forge it. Every card that forges will add that forge number to its base damage. So you can start hitting for insane numbers after a little bit of setup. Just good luck not dying trying to get this to work. It being colorless is also synergistic with his other archetype, which is adding colorless cards into his hand, in which he generates through hand-filling junk cards, or through hand-filling junk cards, but the junk has effects. Yeah, this archetype's kinda shit. Except you charging guards. Y'all are good. With the Regent style being primarily setup and payoff, he is very combo heavy, which tickles the Yu-Gi-Oh side of my brain. Because boy, do I love playing forge cards which don't do anything until later after I've taken 25 damage for my 50 damage payoff after 5 turns of setup. In my experience of getting every character one win, this guy was by far the hardest, and I lost 3 runs before getting my win. And it was the most it's so over, we are so back run I've ever had.
0 out of 250.
Holy, I live. Need us under a Sovereign Blade. I can't believe it, I did it. I'm him.
I don't think going all in on Forge is a very good idea. Just play the star cards and actually try to win. But that's how losers think. Keep forging. Bigger number. Better person. Anyway, as you might have been able to tell, he's my favorite character. He has aura and gambling. Don't worry, we will talk more about him later.
It's never been more over. It's never been more back. It's never been more back. Oh my god.
For now, let's introduce the second newcomer. She is a spooky skeleton and the necromancer of this game, pulling dastardly tricks with ghouls and goblins to condemn her enemies. However, the goblins are on worker strike due to poor workplace conditions, so we're just gonna have to talk about the ghouls. Her starting relic is Bound Phylactery, which summons 1 at the start of her turn. Now you may be asking what that means. She has 4 strikes and 4 defense, with the unique cards Bodyguard and Unleash. Bodyguard has the simple effect of Summon 5. Now you may still be wondering what that means. Her other unique card is Unleash, which deals 6 damage and does more damage based on how much health Otzi has left. And now I can finally start talking about that summon keyword. The summon keyword itself adds a number on the card as HP to Otzi. It's her central gimmick. It's similar to Stars in it being kind of a resource, but the resource takes the form of her companion Otzi. And unlike a solo queue teammate, Otzi is actually willing to take the hit. But be careful. If there's any leftover damage, it'll pierce through and still hit you. Otzi can be further supported through their own Otzi archetype. Some cards allow Otzi to do stuff on their own, which, as a side note, ignores debuffs inflicted upon the Necrobinder herself, whether it's from an enemy or self-inflicted. Basically, Otzi becomes the main character. Takes every hit, does all the damage, is up 20k souls, carries the game, while you play Pokemon Trainer and sit at 20k at 30 minutes and buy Cursed Relic. Of course, you don't need to go all in on Otzi. Just getting the summon cards as functionally extra block is already really good support, in addition to another archetype she has, or more accurately called an engine, which are the soul cards, which have to be created by other cards. They are 0 mana draw 2s. I don't think I have to explain why this is good. I just hope you have enough energy to use those new cards. But it's always nice to have some of these things lying around. It's not like the goblins are going to do anything. Unlike the next set of cards, the ethereal cards, which get self-conscious and high guard themselves if you don't play them. These cards tend to be slightly overstated in exchange. It can theoretically help with deck thinning, but the ethereal cards are among the most powerful cards in the Necrobinder's pool, and sometimes it's even worth to play them even if they don't do anything, because saving them for the redraw can still be worth it. While they don't follow an exact theme, it's still a very powerful archetype at her disposal. Special mention to Defy and Ethereal Touch for doing this. The character might be kind of broken. However, no matter how powerful the ethereal cards are, they aren't nearly as funny as her unique status condition, Doom! Which will annihilate anyone whose HP gets below their Doom count. Each further stack of Doom taking up the threshold for their Doom! It's very funny, but kind of gimmicky due to one terrible thing about it. And it's the fact that it's only lethal at the end of their turn, which means that even if they would face their Doom, they can still hit you, until they don't. Although the Doom cards tend to have really high numbers, so it can function as a sort of investment damage. In essence, it functions somewhat similarly to Poison. Necrobinder to me is a new player making a guide, which in reality is just a poor excuse to justify buying and making a video on Slay the Spire 2, is one of the most obviously powerful characters, and a really fun choice if you actually want to block better than the guy with Barricade in his pool. If you think about it, Otzi is just blocking with extra steps. Regent is still on top though. But enough about the newcomers, let's talk about the last returning character, This guy scares me because they're playing a very different game to everyone else. While Regent is playing Everdell, Defect is playing 5D chess with multiverse time travel, or sex chess depending on what cards you pick. And his main central gimmick revolves around the orbs, or claw, or status cards. The Defect starting deck comes with 4 strikes and 4 defense, along with 2 unique cards, Zap and Dual Cast. Now I know this video is slightly overstimulating, but I'll try and slow down for this character specifically, because they can be quite hard to grasp. Zap channels 1 lightning orb around the Defect. I'll explain later. And Dual Cast evokes your rightmost orb twice. I'll explain that one a lot later. The starting relic channels 1 lightning orb at the start of each combat, so you'll always have 1. All of the various orbs do different things while sitting around channeled. Channeled orbs activate automatically at the end of your turn. The orbs can be channeled through various means, but the starting card Zap is the simplest way to do it. When you try to channel more orbs than you have slots for, you invoke the orb, and do more of the same thing they were doing when they were channeled. You can also force an evoke through a card, such as Dual Cast. I really hope you got all that because as I said, this character is hard to grasp. If you did, I'll give you a cookie. If you didn't, Labyrinth of Eternal Pain and Suffering. The most common orb you'll have every run in both your starting deck and relic is Lightning. It deals 3 damage randomly per channeled orb. When invoked, it deals 8 damage to a random enemy. The Ice Orb makes you gain 2 block while channeled. When invoked, you gain 5 block. The Glass Orb, when channeled, does 4 damage to all enemies. However, the damage is decreased by 1 afterwards. So it does 4, then 3, then 2, and you get it. When invoked, it does double the current damage value to all enemies, so you'll want to evoke it quickly for maximum damage. The Dark Orb starts at 6 damage, and when channeled adds an extra 6 damage to the total, at a base of 6 every turn. So it doesn't do anything while channeled besides linearly scale. The damage comes in when evoked. It does its current damage value to the enemy with the lowest HP. So to properly use the Dark Orb, you need to keep it stored up and unleash it all at once for maximum value. The Plasma Orb, while channeled, gain an extra energy. When invoked, gain 2 energy. It's really that simple. Notable is that this orb is not affected by focus. Speaking of, these effects can be further amplified through focus. Each stack of focus increases the effect of all orbs by 1. However, most focus cards are temporary, so be careful what you pick. Or you can ignore all of that and just play like a brute, just completely neglecting the orbs and going all in on damage. There's also Claw. There's also a sub-archetype of cards that create status cards and cards that use status cards, and I don't really get it. It seems more like supportive, and I don't have footage because I don't play this character. Maybe mixing in the orbs and the brutish cards are the best way to go about it, but I don't know. My guide kind of falls short here. Overall, a very complicated character that requires critical thinking skills I sorely lack, with the sole exception of my Regent, of course. However, this character seems quite strong, but thinking is scary to me, and despite winning my first run, they weren't so kind to me in any of my future attempts. They seem like an acquired taste, so play them yourselves and find out if you like this. But I've been talking about characters long enough, so put up the final infographic. Wow, that was really interesting. I don't know what I put up, but this is the part where I start talking about some of those monsters and miscreants that are soon to be splattered goo on the Spire's floors, and specifically, the ones I hate! Now, I've touched on these encounters earlier briefly, but each floor has a different variety of enemies, and some of them are particularly problematic. Now, if you're a good player, you would pick cards that would help you defeat these certain problematic enemies, and properly scale into late game. But come on, you're watching a guy by someone with less than 50 hours in the game. We aren't thinking like that, if at all. I mean, there's just so many different types of enemies to look out for on your way to slay the Spire. 2, there's just no way a noob like you can know what's a threat and what's not. However, fortunately for you, my dear precious little like and subscribing viewer, I've already made a list of your soon-to-be new opinions. And we are going to call this list of enemies the 4 Horsemen of oh shit. That's the enemy I really didn't want to see right now because I didn't pack a counter for them because I'm not good at planning out the long-term consequences of my actions. Let's go from least hated to most hated. And to start, I'm going to give you an underrated one that doesn't get nearly enough of the slander and hate it deserves. The first Horseman, the Gremlin Merc. Yeah, we're going real niche for this one. They are a hard pool fight in Act 1, though it's not just their obscene damage that makes me hate them. It's the fact they straight rob you. Every time they hit you, even if you block, they steal 20 gold from you. And when you do actually defeat them, they have a phase 2 where they try to leave off with all my hard-earned cash. Now, I've never actually lost a significant amount of money to them. It's about the principle of not only stealing my health bar, but also my money. Luckily, they are a hard pool fight, so they can be quite rare, so you won't see them all the time. Thank goodness. Unlike the next pool of enemies where you have a non-negligible chance of seeing them unfortunately, such as one of the bosses of the first act, the second Horseman, the Steam Giant. Ah, Steam Giant, you are a menace on my first few runs of this game, and I think my live reactions to seeing you will explain how I feel about you.
I guess they're going vulnerable. No. Why is he back? Why is he actually back? This is the worst boss in the entire game.
Oh, how little I actually knew. Oh wow, I really didn't know anything. The boss's name is Waterfall Giant. Huh. Oh yeah, the main reason I hate him is because he scales, and when he dies, he blows up, but depending on how much he scales, and he's really not that bad. Just bring good block cards and you'll be fine. Just hope you don't break 2. But I will never forgive you for what you did to me in my earlier runs. You aren't nearly as bad as the third Horseman, however. The Phantasmal Gardeners. They're an Act 1 elite enemy in the Underdogs, and these stupid worms force me to pick AoE cards or extremely strong single target, just because of their existence. However, that single target solution better be strong because when you do hit them, they gain 6 block, so it's hard to burst them down without such an extreme measure, and I hate them for that. Why should I have to think? But the worst part is the fact they exist and are threatening enough that I'm forced to respect that when I choose my cards. And that sucks, because I'm a troglodyte who hates thinking. However, no amount of thinking can save me from the 4th and final Horseman, 2 Chompers. An Act 2 hard pool fight that is just a low roll anytime you see them, because 16 damage a turn with debuff resistance and 60 HP, along with shuffling dazes into your deck, is super fair. You better kill one quickly or it's infinite chip. I hate these 2 Chompers, they suck. You know what? Forget the 4 Horsemen, it's personal. The Etomancer. You get an honorable mention because I don't like you. The Soul Nexus. They just hit really hard and they killed one of my best runs and I'm still mad about it, so I'm mentioning them here. The Hunter Killer. That's all I need to say. The Mecha Knight. You suck! You put trash in my deck, resist my debuffs, and still hit like 4 freight trains crashing into each other. I don't even know how that's possible. Ooh, I hate you. But when I get my hands on you, I'll rip you. Where are my hands? The Millipede is the worst elite in this game. The sheer sadness I feel anytime I see this guy makes my teeth tingle and my toes grow fungus. While taking down one segment can provide temporary relief, you can easily get stuck in a never-ending cycle of killing and reforming and killing and reforming, all while constantly getting chipped down. This fight is super problematic, look out for it, and end it fast. Pick up AoE cards. The Beta Branch Doormaker is much like the goopy poop you're too scared to wipe after a long trip. They're one of the 3 final bosses, and while they've all wronged me in their own ways, no! The Doormaker's gimmick tends to make the fight last a little longer than usual, and thus cause me to think more. I hate thinking! He's a fight you need to plan around in your card selection. That's why I don't like him. He makes me actually think about strategy, about a game about strategy. He's an asshole. Huh? What's that? What? He got replaced? But... Oh. I guess he was a little annoying, but he's gone. He's gone. Say hello to his replacement, the Eon Glass. Every 4 cards you play, they put a status card into your hand. It's like kind of annoying, and they get a lot of block. Yup, that's what they do. That's the replacement. I can't believe he's gone. I didn't know how to appreciate him in the moment. I can't believe it. Overall, the enemies in this game give me anxiety, nausea, heart failure, and diarrhea upon even looking at them. So I'd say they are perfect roguelike enemies. Because what's a little roguelike without a little bit of diarrhea? Why did I write this? When did I write this? So I say they are perfect roguelike enemies, because what's a little roguelike without a little bit of diarrhea? Especially on the higher Ascensions where they get even tougher. Oh yeah, the Ascensions, I should mention that. If you don't want to know what the Ascension effects are, skip to this. But please don't. I worked hard on this video, please. I need this. I actually need this. After talking about the endless torment that is the base enemies, you've likely surmised that this game can be quite difficult. But after a certain point, like any roguelike, it'll become too easy, and winning will become almost effortless. That's why this game is a universal roguelike solution. Self-imposed masochism. Slay the Spire's blind as Ascensions, which are just stacking modifiers that make the game more difficult with every level added. And in general, the lower Ascensions are Weenie Hut Juniors compared to the later Ascensions. Those modifiers add up. Now, I can't speak too much on this because I have a chronic case of skill issue and can't beat Ascension 3. So I'll only talk about the ones I know of at the time of writing this. I encourage you to discover the rest when you're inevitably not as bad as me. But you know what they say, build a man of fire, he's warm for a day. Set a man on fire and he's warm for the rest of his short life. The first Ascension makes more elites spawn on the map. It's actually not as bad as you think. In fact, it's somewhat beneficial since you can get more relics if you can take them on. The second Ascension makes it so you only start with 80% health at the beginning of the run. Additionally, it also only makes you recover 80% of your max health after a boss fight. This modifier being introduced so early forces you to actually get used to trying to conserve HP against the bosses instead of just sending it and face tanking them. The third Ascension just makes you broke and gain less gold, which is just sad. And that's the extent of my knowledge, so good luck in finding out the rest. Hey, so while I was writing this, I was still playing the game because I'm an ADHD starved microbe and I beat it, so ignore that last comment. The fourth Ascension removes a potion slot. It kinda sucks, I guess. So past the fourth Ascension, I don't know what happens, so go out and figure out the rest by yourself. And that's the endgame of Slay. Hey, ignore past me, this modifier sucks. Also, I beat Ascension 4. It actually wasn't that bad. The fifth Ascension makes you curse, which basically just adds a dead card into your deck at the beginning of the run. Okay, final time, I promise, no lie. Back to the video. Slay the Spire 2. So guess who just beat Ascension 5? Alright, listen, the game is fun, I need to get more footage, give me a break. Ascension 6 makes your deck removals from the shop become linearly more expensive the more you do it. Well, I did try one run of it, I was actually fighting for my life, so that's probably the last Ascension I'll clear during the making of this video. So go out and find the rest for your... You're not gonna believe this. Look, I'm making a guide for newish players. I need some credibility. The stacking modifiers has definitely changed how I need to approach this game, and my upcoming tips section really helped me as a new player. Ooh, foreshadowing! Please watch the video. It makes rare and upgraded cards appear less often, which I'll be honest doesn't seem like it'll be too noticeable. Okay, this time I absolutely doubt I'll beat Ascension 7 before finishing this video. So good luck figuring out the rest. So Ascension 7, huh? Okay, I was editing the Defect section, I was bored, I've been wanting to play Regent all day, but I just kept going and bam, Ascension 7 done. Ascension 8 makes enemies tougher, which essentially just means they'll have more health, which does sound pretty rough, I'll be honest. So find out the rest. Okay, I beat Ascension 8, I'm sorry. Ascension 9 makes enemies hit harder. Really? Really bad one, that's gonna be tough. This time I for sure don't think I'll beat it in time for the video. So I guess I might as well tell you what Ascension 10 is. Okay, swear to me you won't be mad. I know I've done this like 7 times now. I'll cut to the chase. Beating Ascension 9 took me like 3 attempts. Ascension 10 makes it so you have to fight 2 final bosses at the end of the run instead of 1. A seemingly devastating modifier, but if you can beat 1 boss, you can beat them all. Now, I refuse to re-edit this section any more than I've already have. If I beat Ascension 10, I'll put it in text. And that's the endgame of Slay the Spire 2. Start a run, finish a run, either way, and hopefully move on to the next Ascension. Now you may be asking, why would I willingly put myself through so much pain? Well, because I like it. With all the possible relics, cards, potions, and encounters, you'll never have the same run twice, no matter how much you wish you could. But what if you could have twice, or thrice, or thrice the run in one run? With Slay the Spire 2's most standout feature, the... Here's where I would put my multiplayer footage. If I had one, none of my friends own the game, so I have not had the great joy of experiencing all the exclusive cards and funny synergies enabled in multiplayer. But with the power of editing, I can at least pretend I have footage of it. The gang's all here. However, due to my isolation, I've learned quite a bit about this game, so that's why I'm going to give you my advanced tips. Now remember, I'm not very good at this game, but I will try my best to give real and somewhat niche tips I discovered from watching high-level players. If any of these are wrong, please comment. I'll add an addendum as a pinned comment. Until then, I'm assuming I know better than you. Also, most of the advice I will give in this section are not all-encompassing. The correct decision depends on context. With that out of the way, let's begin my hot tips. Tip 1. Path and considerations. At the beginning of each floor, look at the Ancient's relic pool and then decide your path from there. As an example, if you decide to pick something up like the Black Star, you should be running into more elites than normal. Tip 2. Combat pools. The first 3 fights you get into in Act 1 are considered easy pools. After that, the easy pool shrinks to 2 fights for the subsequent acts. Easy pools are self-explanatory. They are the easy group of monsters you'll find early on to give you a chance to become a little stronger before facing the hard pools where you start getting owned. Therefore, after getting the easy pools out of the way, try to think about pathing towards an elite, especially after hitting a power spike such as a shop, campfire, or a powerful card/relic pickup. I know it's scary, especially some of them. However, those hard pool fights can be almost as hard and taxing as some of the elites, and they don't even give you a relic. So, go for it. If you win, you can consolidate more power to start farming those chuds and absolutely bankroll your relic slots. As a small bonus tip, try looking for junctions that lead into those elites. Just in case something goes terribly wrong and you feel unprepared, you can just go the other way. Tip 3. Early shops. Early shops are not crazy to go for, as they can be another card reward that costs gold instead of HP. Oh, this tip is kinda short. Status effects are broken, abuse them. Tip 4. Please use potions. I know, haha, lol, saving all my consumables for the end of the game, but you're going to have to get over your hoarder mindset. If you aren't using them at all, just use them at the slightest opportunity. When you get better, you can start thinking about saving them for the problematic fights that you're actually scared of. A small bonus tip, you start with a 40% chance to gain a potion. After every combat, if you didn't get a potion, the chance goes up by 10. If you did get one, the chance is lowered by 10%. Tip 5. Predict the draw order. Check your deck and discard piles in the middle of the fight to see what are your possible draws for the next turn. It's also helpful in trying to determine if playing a draw card would be worth it, because once a card is drawn, it's hard to get it back without reshuffling the whole deck. Tip 6. You know you can skip cards, right? You don't need to take every card. But don't get me wrong, it's fine if your deck is a little belly slapping big. As long as it's filled with good cards, it isn't the end of the world. Tip 7. Rarity odds. Rare cards become more likely to find the more card rewards you see. I don't know what you can do with this info, but it's kinda neat, right? Tip 8. Read. If you don't read, you'll be like me. You'll play Void Form instantly when you pull it from a potion and lose a turn alongside 30 HP. Don't be like me. Please read. Tip 9. Gold is power. Consider all your options. Even Strike Dummy might be the solution to your problem. Really think about every shop and potential shop on your path before you go spend your cash. Those colorless cards in the shop are no joke. Tip 10. Solve problems. Your number one priority should be fixing any weaknesses your deck might have. It could be simple like, I need high value block, or I need this card to win against one of the 3 possible elites this act. Consider why you would pick that card and why wouldn't you. For example, I'm scared of Phantasmal Gardeners, so I pick AoE. As another example, I'm scared of Briodanis, so I need strong front-loaded immediate damage and or block. Well, that's just in general, but you know. See? Simple. As an example of what not to do, don't take 4 prepared before getting 1 good damage or block card, which also leads into my next tip. Tip 11. The myth of builds. Remember when I raved about character archetypes for a whole section in this video? Yeah, throw that in the garbage. Okay, not really, fish it out. They are a suggestion, just built-in synergies. You don't need every card in an archetype. You take what cards you can and build your own deck, not what you saw on YouTube. Don't pigeonhole yourself into only being able to win in one way, because you will eventually run into counters like Etomancer or Mecha Knight, who all have ways of making certain decks suffer. Having multiple win conditions in a deck lets you take on more variants. The deck doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to be good enough. Just don't be rigid in what you're willing to pick. Be flexible and pick cards to solve problems and survive. Tip 12. Don't have too much fun. Unless it would be funny. This is a harsh lesson I wish to impart on you. You can stop scaling at a certain point. There is such a thing as scaling too much. I've lost one of my best Regent runs to this because I kept getting more and more powers. I diluted my deck so much, I was left so desperate for block and cards that actually did something the same turn it was played that I just died because it took me too long to set up in the basic monster rooms. And this is why I hate Soul Nexus. It's a very delicate balance. Tip 13. Save cheese. A somewhat controversial one, but if your fight isn't going your way or you misclick, you can actually press save and quit to restart the fight. However, the reason you're not seeing an example in the footage is because I'm not a bitch. Disclaimer, this is a joke. Do what you want. It's a single player game. I just personally don't use this because I feel making mistakes and being able to play through them is important and getting better. But I don't care. Play the game how you want. And that's the final tip I care to give. I'm going to talk about my favorite character now. Time for some propaganda. Here's why you should play Regent. Number 1, he has so much aura. Number 2, he's the most real character in the game. He said, I failed? Then I will merely try again. Like, hell yeah, dude, this guy is awesome. Number 3, you can just gamble and start winning. That's it. Next section. Congrats, you've made it to the end of this guide. Now you should be completely and entirely ready to climb the Spire yourself with no further game knowledge being required for you to actually win. Yup, I had told you literally everything you need to know in a disorganized, completely opinionated rant about a game I like. And if you for some reason watched a guide about a game you don't own and are interested in it, I greatly encourage you to get the game yourself. However, I'm gonna say this now, if you look on the Steam page, it's mostly negative reviews. I recommend ignoring this because this is an early access game. Almost nothing is final and most of them are just not real criticisms. People are just mad they can't play Regent as well as I can. No! So buy the game, it's fun. And if you're one of my friends seeing this, I'm not asking. And like and subscribe if you love fake guides. If we hit 50 likes, I'll release One Night at Grilled Spinaches for $70 on Game Jolt. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go play another run of Regent. Bye!